We're very excited today to be hosting a very dear friend to California Republican politics, a very dear friend to Log Cabin, California, and a presidential candidate. And to do that introduction, I want to introduce you to one of my newest friends, someone who has served the state in many different capacities as a state senator, as a commissioner in the Unemployment
Insurance Appeals Board.
Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board, recently confirmed, Senator Roy Ashburn.
Well, thank you very much. It's just terrific to see so many of you here. And I know you're here because of Fred Karger. Here's a person who has devoted his entire life to promoting the values of our Republican Party. A party that stands first and foremost for a very basic principle that all people are free in America and all people are protected by our Constitution to be who we are and to achieve all that we can achieve in this magnificent country. That's the Republican Party that Fred Karger has worked for tirelessly. Candidates through the years, causes that have helped promote and advance our Republican ideals. And so when Fred made certain revelations a few years ago, and then backed that up with the courage to say, you know, it's time. It's time for someone to step forward and say that our Republican Party is a big party, and we have room for everybody. We have room for the principles of individual responsibility. We have room for fiscal responsibility. We have room for a strong national defense. And we have room to be the party that protects the individual liberties of every American. My dear friend, Fred Karger.
Thank you, Roy Ashburn. And thank you all for coming. This means a lot. Roy and I go back about 30 years to the George Deukmejian campaign when he was a rising star working for Congressman Bill Thomas in Bakersfield, and we became friends since then. I've always been a huge admirer of all the great things he's done and supporting him in county supervisor, the state assembly where he served 3 terms, and the state senate, which he just left just less than a year ago after 2 successful terms there. So, you know, we've got reacquainted. It's just a real honor to be with Roy, and he's been a huge help to me all over the state. Thank you so much, Roy. I was accused by Rick Santorum of having fun as I campaigned for president. You saw me at you run into the candidates. I was at a New Hampshire Republican Party dinner where Reince Priebus was speaking about 6 months ago, and you know, I say hello to him. And he goes, "Hello, Fred," but then he actually stepped back and he goes, "You know, you're having fun, aren't you?" For a second, he said, "Actually, yes, I am." And you know, he clearly is not, and a lot of these candidates.
That's great.
You know, and I'm thinking, why would you run for, you know, particularly president if you're not enjoying it, if you don't enjoy people and you don't really have a goal of doing good things and you know, enjoying the process. Well, you know, I'm a political junkie. I know a lot of you in this room. Many go back many decades, and I've been in this process, but always behind the scenes. And I really, as Roy said, I wanted to step up to the plate to make a little history, but more importantly, I'm very concerned about the direction of this country. And you know, those of you know me, I worked for Ronald Reagan for many years. We did a lot of his political activities. I learned a valuable lesson from him in 1976 on the floor of the Republican convention in Kansas City when he kind of reached out to the divided hall there, which Ford had just squeaked out a win, and said, we need to work together as Republicans. We need to all come together to back this president. And it was a very divided party at the time, and I think a lot of us had that same feeling. Maybe we made a mistake, and we should have gone with Reagan. Well, we did 4 years later, and I had the honor of working for him in '80. I went back and worked for 2 months at his inaugural full-time on that, which was a great honor and thrill. And then we worked for his political action committee, did a lot of their governmental affairs work with Lou Barnett, who's here, many of you know, and Curtis Mack. And I was organizing press conferences to support the president's tax plan and doing the political activities that the White House couldn't do. And I really got to have an even greater appreciation of President Reagan, and then worked very actively in the '84 campaign. And before that, I came back from the inaugural to work for George Deukmejian, with several of you in this room, and several alum around the state. We worked on his Attorney General's race then, when it was George who. Try to sell that name. I thought Karger's a tough name. Deukmejian was a lot tougher as a state senator, but a revered guy. And I'd go to Long Beach every morning and pick him up. And he was not a great fan of campaigning himself, but he liked the electoral end and the governing side a little better. He liked to curl up with a good stack of bills or something. Not exactly my cup of tea. But I worked in California politics from the very beginning. And I actually, in 1978, while I was working for George Deukmejian by day, I was working to fight Proposition 6 by night, the Briggs Initiative. And I gave the first $100 to a George McGovern fundraiser in Beverly Hills to try and stop Prop 6 from qualifying for the ballot, the Briggs Initiative. Ended up being the point person with David Mixner. Whenever a Republican, and there were many, would offer help to the campaign, he'd put them in touch with me. And I would meet with them, and we ended up working as a group, and there was a meeting with David Mixner and his business partner, Peter Scott, that Pete Hannaford set up. A lot of you know that name, Deaver and Hannaford. Pete Hannaford set up to get Reagan's support, opposition to that initiative, and it worked. It was successful. It was our goal to make it a bipartisan effort, and that's why I stepped up to the plate, and he ended up turning that initiative around. So here's a very conservative Republican, former governor. Between his 2 runs for president in 1978, he stepped up to the plate to do the right thing, to stop gay teachers and gay school employees from being fired. This was, at the height of Anita Bryant and all this. So I was very honored to be a part of that. I paid a price. My name appeared on the campaign report next to Jane Fonda's and Norman Lear's, 2 very well-known liberals of the time, and still. And I was that letter. A letter was sent to a Senate candidate I was working for 2 years later. How can you have someone who supports the homosexual agenda working for you? And a copy of the campaign report and some of the press around it, because the Los Angeles County Young Republicans courageously took a stand opposing the Briggs Initiative. And I'm petrified. And I was very scared at 28 years old doing that, and I was more scared at 30. And I went deeper into the closet, where I stayed comfortably, I guess, in what was a very double life for many, many years, working for Republican candidates and causes. I know others in this room, and certainly around the convention hall and around the country that I can relate. And it was something I would not recommend. But when I came out to my family a little later, and friends, and everything went well, and it worked, and we got more into corporate work, and it was a little easier to be gay than working for candidates. So the problem occurred for a lot of people in 2004 when I retired and got a little restless and became a gay activist in the Prop 8 campaign, which was very parallel to the Prop 6 campaign 30 years earlier, and I became one of these in-your-face activists in a blue suit. And I boycotted 4 of the businesses of people that had given 6 figures and up to pass and qualify Prop 8. The first was Doug Manchester in San Diego. There's some of you from San Diego here, and we did a job on him, and he was gloating about his contribution like you would for giving money to the Republican Party or a hospital or something, and he regretted it. He's apologized. He still has refused to meet with us and settle like 2 of the other organizations, individuals rather, we boycotted, but I became very aggressive. I discovered the Mormon Church's involvement in the Prop 8 campaign. Much to their chagrin, they've been doing this in 28 other state elections. Well, I filed a complaint because they didn't comply with the election law, and it led to their prosecution by the California Fair Political Practices Commission, an investigation of 18 months, guilty plea by the Mormon Church, unprecedented. I was actually commended in a story, in an editorial in the New York Times. I spent a lot of my career trying to stay out of an editorial in the New York Times. I figured if I ever got one, it would be favorable. Well, this was. It thanked me for taking on the Mormon Church and thanked the Commission for doing the courageous thing and investigating them. So I went to Maine a year later and filed a complaint against the National Organization for Marriage. An old friend of mine from Florida and I, hot lesbian, and she won over, I think, the third vote on our commission, on the commission up there, and they're still investigating the National Organization for Marriage, which is involved in 23 states. So I took my activism, my political experience, my opposition research, and I put it all into one little package here and decided to throw caution to the wind and throw my hat into the ring. And I decided, after meeting with my family in Hawaii and Christmas in 2009, to take this next step. And my brother says the craziest thing he's ever heard in his life, which of course it was. But I went to New Hampshire in February, and I met with a young group of students at the University of New Hampshire. There were about 40 college students sitting around a basement in the Municipal Union Building, the Gay Straight Alliance, and told my story. And it was a resounding group of kids in there that were just kind of in awe that a gay man could run for President of the United States. And I got Facebook messages and emails, and just the best response. I went to Dartmouth, another New Hampshire school. The next time I met with 9 kids in their GSA, and I got a similar reaction, and I knew I had to do this. And I was the first to announce his intention to run in New Orleans in March of last year. I was the first to file an exploratory committee in July of last year. I was the first to run commercials in Iowa right after the November election. I was the first to run commercials in New Hampshire after their primary in September. I was the first to hire staff in Iowa and New Hampshire. I've been the first, and I'm of course the first openly gay candidate for President of the United States in history, in either major party. And I think it's important, as Roy said, that it is a Republican. It's the Republican Party of Lincoln, who was the civil rights leader. And Theodore Roosevelt, who was the first Republican president of this last century, he hired African Americans in his administration, all to be fired by a successor, the Democrat Woodrow Wilson. So the Republican Party has a storied history of civil rights and inclusion, and that's what we need to do. I have rarely been here. I got back yesterday for about 20 hours. I leave and I got to duck out in about 10 minutes to go to Salt Lake City, where I'm speaking. I'm the keynoter at the Log Cabin Utah dinner tonight, and then there's a reception on Monday at the Governor's Mansion that I'm going to and speaking, and then we're having a little fundraiser in Salt Lake tomorrow. There are actually people in Utah who appreciate me, and it's really nice to go back. I spent a lot of time there, and so I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm off for Washington. I'm speaking at the Republican Jewish Coalition meeting that they're having there, the leadership conference on Thursday. I'm very honored. I'm going to go with Brad Hertz, our Jewish Outreach Director over there. Speaker Boehner is speaking, Scott Brown. I'm on that program. And I've been getting a lot of wonderful opportunities, including this weekend. And this was a little bit of a battle. I think you know the backstory, many of you, but I was asked, I was told that the speaking slots were all filled for this convention, and suddenly the Carla Marinucci of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote a story and ended up on the front page, and they said, oh, no, that was a complete misunderstanding. We welcome Fred Karger. And thanks to Len and Kimberly, this reception came together. I am crusading to bring back that American spirit that Ronald Reagan brought this country. He got us out of, even worse conditions than we're in. We had inflation at 10.5% in 1981 when he became president. I want to bring back that American spirit, that optimism, that ability to get along that he did, forging an alliance with Tip O'Neill, that this president is incapable of doing, and we need to be able to work as a country. And Washington, the politicians, Congress is at an all-time low. It's 14% is the rating now. I think that's high. The public wants an outsider. They want somebody who can reach across party lines and get along for the good of the country, and that's what's missing. Obama just announced his $447 billion stimulus plan. Where's he going? He's taking that to all the states like Ohio and North Carolina that he hopes to win next year. It's another $447 billion infusion into his campaign. He's raising $1 billion. Isn't that enough? I want to talk about education reform, and I've been meeting with a lot of students, a lot of experts, even Arnie Duncan in Washington, D.C., releasing some good new bold ideas to keep high school kids in school. And I've been working on my own economic plan. And I've been working with a professor, a former Fed board member at the University of Chicago at the Booth School. We've got some great innovative ideas, and I'm very excited about that. And we're going to come up with some out-of-the-box things that, you know, economists are going to probably attack, but it's that Reagan kind of approach to lift people up, to get that entrepreneurial spirit back, a personal responsibility, and get this country back on its feet. Watching these debates, I am so angry. I think, you know, I've been trying to get in them. There are four of us. I termed the four musketeers, two former governors, Buddy Roemer, Gary Johnson, and then Thaddeus McConnell, a member of Congress, and we're all lumped together as the four that are left out of these debates. But, you know, it's doom and gloom. No wonder the numbers are dropping on the you know, whether we're going to turn around this country. You know, these Republicans are just as bad as Obama. You know, they're attacking him, and they're just attacking every part of the country. I want one to just talk about how great this country is, how people are lined up at consulates around the country, around the world in other countries, American consulates, for the privilege of coming here that we're lucky enough to be a part of. And we need to lift this spirit like Reagan did, and I want to be a part of that. I get a lot of bumps in the road. I had one last night. I was supposed to be introduced. Arrangements have been made. The chairman decided not to introduce me at the dinner that I flew back from New York for because he didn't want to rain on Michelle Bachmann's parade, and said that I was, what have you done for the party? She's here raising money, and actually I tweeted, you know, double-crossed her. I was very disappointed, and I've been hitting a lot of those, and I expect that. And I'm fighting each and every one of those. I'm fighting back. And what happened last night was a high school student came up here and with his dad with a camera ready, and are you Fred Karger? And I follow your campaign. I'm so excited to meet you. And it's those younger people, the people that are getting what I'm doing, that are reaching out, that are excited about this, that keep me going, that make get me up in the morning and make my life a joy. And I get literally thousands of letters, emails, Facebook messages. Let me read one that inspired me, and hopefully will inspire you and make me realize I'm on the right track. This is one of the first ones I got. It's still one of the best. My name is Andy Richardson. I'm a 16-year-old openly gay sophomore at Robert E. Lee High School, Northeast School in San Antonio, Texas. I would like to personally thank you so much for running for president. I completely agree with your views and morals and would absolutely vote for you if I could. I will, however, try and convince my parents to vote for you with all of my power. Thank you for giving me hope that one day I'll be able to marry the person I love. Thank you for being an inspiration to people everywhere. I wish you the best of luck on your journey and hope you succeed in your goals. I get these by the dozens every day, and it's inspiring. Our message is getting out thanks to a lot of you, and thanks to what we're doing. I just want to close. I want to introduce you to a couple people who are part of this team. We have a small, lean, mean operation, but in the back is Brian Wilson, who is our web guy. Work very closely on the Prop 8, and then Kevin Miniter is around somewhere, who is our research director. There he is. Jason, New Hampshire, our New Hampshire coordinator, and we met Brad. And it's a lean, mean team. I have 7 people, full and part-time. We are making a lot of noise out there. We have a low overhead. We can maintain this throughout. If it becomes a 2-person race, let's say Perry and Romney, I'm not going anywhere. I will be in this. I'm going to be fighting to get in those debates like Shirley Chisholm did, you know, in 1972. And if I can get in one of those, you know, anything can happen, which is the scary prospect. But I'm very committed to this. I am having fun, Rick Santorum. I'm working a little too hard, but I'm meeting wonderful people, and I'm hopefully impacting lives. Thank you all, one and all.